Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Mark and Gary on free. It's Sunday, which means a new video. Haven't said that in a while. Today I'm going to be ranking the opening dances of each season of The Next Step. And next week, well, straight after this, I'm going to be filming it, but next week I'm going to be uploading me ranking the dances that they do when the mid-season starts. So every season has a halfway point where it kind of breaks, and like it either breaks for a significant amount of time or it just literally is a marker in the season as to when the second half begins, and they always signify that with a dance or flashbacks or that kind of thing. If you want a season 8, remember you have to use the hashtag season 8 when though on all related TNS posts, not from The Next Step themselves, but like CBC Gem, ABC Me, Family Channel, CBBC, every post they do, as long as it's appropriate, like you can comment that and just show them that you want another season, and then hopefully somebody will buy it and then they'll produce it and we'll get one. So like I said, there are 7 seasons of The Next Step so far. So I have ranked all seasons, all of the opening dances for each season. So there are obviously 7 placements. I don't know why I'm rambling. In 7th place we have season 5. So the beginning of season 5, they didn't have an opening dance. So there's not much for me to judge it on, but that's literally why it's at the bottom. They didn't even do an opening routine in the very first episode. I genuinely feel like it would have been so nice for them to do an opening routine with this new kind of A troupe that's left off from the season, people that were in season 4. So obviously Cassie, Alfie, who else had left at that point? Sloane wasn't going to audition again, but she could have been in that dance. So everybody else does a group dance in Studio A, being like, wow, we can't wait for the new season, this is what happened beforehand, this is what we're hoping for. Sloane would then announce in that dance that she's going to leave because she's got Luther Brown's tour that she's going on. Who else was there? I don't even remember. But then at the end of their dance, similar to what they do in season 6, but I'll get onto that later, Emily would then walk in and tell them to go down to Studio 1 because they're not using Studio A anymore. Like, imagine how much of a intriguing point that would have been for the very first episode to be like, hang on, they're doing an opening dance in Studio A and they're not allowed to be in Studio A. Emily's saying that they're not using Studio A anymore. What? And you'd have to continue watching the episode to find out what exactly was happening. So I just feel like that would have been a really good opportunity for them, and it's a shame we didn't have an opening dance for season 5. So in 6th place, I then have the season 1 opening dance. And like I said, for season 5, they didn't necessarily have an opening dance for season 1. Not in the first episode anyway, because everyone just walked in and they did the auditions and they didn't want to give away already like who was in A Troupe, I guess. But episode 2, when A Troupe was revealed after the auditions, they did kind of have an opening dance, so the freeze at the end, but it's not that high up on my list. It does introduce A-troopers well, and I actually really like how they get to show their own personalities, and it's not just like them doing one unison dance that's kind of a blend of all their styles or favouring one style over another. So everyone just got to do a solo and they talked over the top of it, but when they were done they just kind of danced in the background, as in just to be like still in the scene, and they just be improvising and stuff. And by the time you get to the final A Trooper, you can just tell that some people have really ran out of ideas to do. They're kind of just bopping on the spot, repeating what they've already done. Like Emily and West, I think they were the first 2 to perform their solos and be announced as A Troopers, and you can just tell they were kind of thinking, what else do we do? Like, we're still dancing away here. I think it would have been nicer if they had a structure, so once they've finished dancing, they then start doing some choreo, and as each person finishes doing their solo, they join in with the choreo, so that by the time the last person has gone, they could do a little bit of unison and then freeze on the spot. So yeah, I like the personality that it had. I thought it was really cute, and I did actually like how they revealed each A Trooper. Like, it wasn't just opening shot of them all. You had to wait and see who was going to join them. So I do really like that element, but I just think, there was no unison in it. It wasn't much of a group dance. It was just solos. When they're in the background, they were just improvising. It got a bit tired and repetitive after a while. Next, we have season 2, and season 2 was all right. I just feel like it achieved the purpose of providing us with an opening dance. It wasn't anything spectacular. It didn't wow me really, but it didn't necessarily let me down. I think the slow motion at the start really worked for fitting with the song, and also, like, you can imagine watching season 1 and then hearing that season 2 is going to come, and you tune in and it suddenly starts this slow motion of everyone just standing there, and then you get to see Alden do this huge jump, and it's like, yes, like, we're back at the next step. It's so exciting. I really like that. For season 2's opening number, I also feel like it was a very supportive environment and you could really feel the chemistry everyone had. It didn't feel like it was just for the sake of clapping for our friends. It really felt like people were genuinely being supportive. And I have to say, Jiley's chemistry that they had in their duet sections, I think it was amazing. Like, I'm not the biggest Jiley stan now after the 7 seasons of The Next Step and what we've seen of them throughout, but season 2, before any major drama had happened, they were cute and I liked them. And I have to say, especially all the lifts that they did in that opening number, they were so, I don't know, it's just so fluid. The chemistry's there. They look very natural together as well. It doesn't just like look like, oh, these two are a couple now, so you have to throw in a couple of lifts, you know, to show they're romantic. It just looked like it worked and it was meant to be. I also liked how people were only really moving if it was their section that they were moving on. So when they were doing their little solo, and when they weren't moving, people were just clapping and they're being supportive. I feel like that's quite realistic, because if you're doing a dance just to welcome back the season, then you probably would just be watching your friend going yes, 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 and then you go and do your part and then you start clapping for the next person who does it. So I liked it. It didn't feel necessarily like it was lacking anything in that sense. It just felt right. It didn't let me down, but it didn't astound me. So we then have season 7. All I want to say is that Tell the Story as a song is something that's become really iconic to me, and it has a special place in my heart, and I think it always will as a song. Every time I hear it, all I can, why am I getting teary thinking about it? All I can think of when I hear that song is when I did my collaboration with Hacker T-Dog and CBBC, and I was the first like TNS fan or just general audience member to see that episode out of everybody, because obviously it was aired in the UK first. I saw it before anyone in the UK got to see it, so I kind of was the first stepper in the world to see that episode, I guess, because I watched it in December and it didn't come out until January, I think. I don't know, it was at least a month beforehand that the first episode came out. So it is such a vividly iconic song and it gives me goosebumps when I hear it, and I really do feel like season 7 as a whole has that special place in my heart. So I am thankful for season 7. As much as I say I don't like it and I don't like this and that, like, I think the things that season 7 has brought me in terms of my career have been like immense, and I'm always going to be so thankful to The Next Step for that. And Tell the Story is one of those things that is pivotal and means a lot to me, I guess. However, that does not mean that I like the dance. So I like the opening shot of them all coming in. I think that's such a goosebumpy moment where you see the studio and you see them coming down either side. But I feel like it's a little bit OTT that they're like running and hugging each other, because it's like, how long has it been since they saw each other? And they probably stayed in contact like in social media. But I kind of get it, if it's the first class back after a while, you do get excited to see your friends. So it could make sense. But on another hand, it also can look a bit over the top and a bit fake. So I don't really know where I stand with that, so it's not much of a point, but it's just something I wanted to point out. In terms of what we saw in the television version itself, I do feel like it was a bit rushed in places. So for example, I'm pretty sure all Ozzy did was a couple of turns and then it cut to somebody else. Whereas in the extended version, we see him do quite a lot. Like he does, well, when I was at university, we called them flying squirrels, I'm pretty sure. When you do like, your arms are like out to the side and you kick your legs up in the air. I don't know what they're actually called, but that's what we refer to them as. He does that, he does turns, he does like a jump at the same time as Piper comes in next. So there was more that we could have seen from Ozzy, but they only chose to show like a couple of turns. I really liked Pin's lift, so the lift that Piper and Finn did. I mean, if you don't know who Pin are, then who are you? But the lift that they did was really, really cool. As an opening dance though, compared to the previous 6 seasons, I really do feel like it lacked something. It seemed like it was made for the purpose of being an opening dance rather than it having the hype behind it and being like, oh my god, this is the start of a new season, we're going to kick it off with an incredible group dance and introduce all these new the A-tubers that have returned, we're going to just bring so much hype to it. It just kind of seemed like, oh yeah, oh by the way, we need to do an opening dance, so let's go make that opening dance, because it didn't have any unison sections. It was just people going in and out, and it then cut to Michelle, so that kind of broke up the hype that the opening dances usually have. It kind of lowered the, like, I don't know, just the hype, I guess, because it then went to Michelle, it came back, and they were just walking around, and then they pulled her in, and then they were just kind of doing this on the spot, and I just felt like like literally compared to the previous seasons, the level of opening dances that they had, the energy, the movement quality, it just didn't match it at all. Oh, and of course I have to say, like, the movements that we did see from people were good. Like, I remember I really like Summer's section, Piper's section she does, Henry's section was super good. It just seemed to be for the purpose of having to have a dance rather than actually doing loads of prep for it and stuff. It's hard to explain, but it just didn't live up to my expectation. In third place, we then have season 4, and season 4 episode 1 was of course Take It to the Top, and this is the dance where we saw the OG Next Step A Troopers leaving and moving on, and they'd announced what they were doing next in their careers. So season 4's opening dance, Take It to the Top, was very high skill, the energy was there, and I just think it really works. And I love how West was at the front of the formation, because I really feel like West was underused in the Next Step. I really honestly wish he'd been up for male soloist in season 3, because Daniel wasn't there and Elton wasn't against anybody for it. Kate just chose him, and I remember Noah being annoyed about it, but it would have been really nice, I think, if West had been annoyed about it. That would have kind of given him a development in his own personality, if he kind of stepped up and say, you know what, I would like to try for this, because in season 2 he was willing to try for it, but then James told him to step down because Alden needed to boost his confidence apparently. Like, yeah, just literally what West does in every season and his dancing, he would have been a stellar male soloist. And even though Alden was amazing at internationals, I really feel like West could have given him a run for his money. West and Alden's duet though in season 4 was also sick. I love it. I love the bit where I think West goes like duh, and Alden in response, oh my god, I can't pop or anything, but he's like, he does his chest and then he does his head in response to West doing that. I'll just put it on the screen, but it was just so good. And the just dynamics and the sharpness and the rhythm, the musicality, yes, we stan. The thing is though that's stopping it from going any higher, the slow motion when the characters left was kind of nice. I liked it how it gave them their moment and they spoke about what they're doing next, because they are big characters, you know, they're iconic characters, so you're going to give them their like time to shine. However, when they left the dance, they just left Studio A, and I don't feel like that's very realistic or like makes sense really. So what I would have really liked instead is if when they kind of disappear, they just sit along the front by the mirrors, or they just stand at the side and continue like cheering for all their friends that are still performing, because it doesn't really make sense to me. Why would you dance and then just leave the room? Because even when Kate talks to them afterwards, none of them are there that had just done the dance and disappeared. So it just seemed a bit rude and a bit odd that they just would leave after doing their little bit in the dance. So yeah, that wasn't like my thing really. I didn't really like that. So I guess we should discuss who was in first or second position, shouldn't we? So in second place we have season 3 episode 1, Coming Home. Of course, I think it's just such a good routine and it really makes us feel like we are coming home. Oh, that sounds so cheesy, but like, you gotta imagine you finish season 2, you get the announcement that season 3 is coming, the opening song is Coming Home, your dancers are back, we're starting off with Jiley and it's like, yes, we're coming home, it's the next step. So I just loved the build up and how it cut from exterior shots to Jiley, and it was like do 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 do. You know what I mean? People did little short solos before their main solos, so we got to see a little bit of everyone and introduce them back again. The small groups, we have to talk about small groups. So the boys' small group, amazing. I love that whole section that they do where it's like they do it in canon. Such a good bit. Oh, and they do this as well, I'm pretty sure. And the girls, when they're doing like their little hip movement thing, and then they do this, which is pretty iconic. And Piper and Amy do it later on as well in season 7. So good. I really feel like, again, no one was shown to be a weak dancer. And the thing I want to pick up on it is in the boys section where I think they all do back tucks. Hunter can't do a back tuck, or at least he doesn't do it on the show, and he doesn't do one in this dance. Instead he does a back handspring, and I don't even feel like that makes him look like a weak link, because he doesn't try to do that, he just does his own move. And I think because of Hunter's style it really suits him, and even when he does, instead of an aerial, he puts his hand down, it just looks good for Hunter. And I don't know, that's the thing. It's when you try and make dancers dance a certain way that isn't their style and that not their strength, they're going to look bad. But if you allow them to just do what they need to do to adapt the movement, it looks good. Still, so I liked how Hunter managed to keep his own uniqueness while still doing the same choreo as the boys. It didn't make him look like the weak member out of the four, in my opinion. Anyway, I still feel that he looked really, really good, especially as an opening routine. Like, maybe in a competition, that wouldn't look as good because you want everyone to look at the same level. But for an opening routine where everyone's showing their personalities, I think it was really nice that Hunter still got to just do what Hunter needs to do. Because if you'd made him try to do that, he might have fallen over and then he would have looked weaker than the others. But he was strong doing what suits him. Everyone also seemed to have pretty even screen time, at least in the television version, which obviously I appreciate. And overall, it was just a mature routine, which really showed their strengths as a team, like individually, as small groups, as a group of girls and a group of boys. But in first place, we have season 6. Now, I remember watching this season 6 opening dance. I really do. So the ones that I actually remember in my mind are season 7 and season 6. I remember when I first saw the season 6 one and we saw them all frozen and the music starts kicking. What's the song? It's a long way up, so don't look down. We're nearly at work. Oh, it's an iconic song. It's one of my favourites, I think, just for the memories. But I just think it builds so much hype how they're frozen and they do a little move and then they freeze again. And when Henry and Amy swap places in the formation, I really like that bit. It just adds a little bit of, like, I don't know, I keep saying dynamics a lot, but it does add dynamism to the dance and just a bit of depth. And it just, I don't know, I like intricate details like that. We have to obviously talk about Noah's flip through the line. I mean, the thing that came into my mind then was the behind the scenes where I think he hits, is it Dylan's ankle or something like that? But when Noah flips through the line, incredible. Like, that man can do anything, I swear. The season 6 opening dance really did give me vibes of like the old school Next Step, and I think season 6 as a whole gave that for a lot of us. Like, it really felt like they were a team, there was natural chemistry between them, it didn't feel forced, the acting was great from a lot of people, the plot was very strong and it seemed very well planned out and thought out, the development was there. So this dance really just had the chemistry in it that I really enjoyed seeing. It had unison sections, it seemed very well thought out, but we also had solos, and I liked how in the solos we saw people do brand new things and bring back moves. Like Amy did the spider, which most people associate with Giselle, so it was nice to see her do that. And I love Jackie's handstand that she does when she bounces up and down in it. Once again, I feel like no one was a weak link in this dance. Everyone was really shown to their best ability. Like, even if maybe someone was a weak link, they'd cut away or they cut the camera so you wouldn't see them. It just, no one was made to look bad. Everyone was shown very, very well. There's just so many bits in the dance that I love and I think are amazing, and you can just feel the energy and the vibe is there, and you can tell that this routine was really well choreographed, and yeah, it's just one of the best ones. Also, what I liked, and I think I kind of touched on this with the season 7 one, like I didn't like in season 7 how it broke off to Michelle, because it lowered the intensity of the dance and it kind of took away from it. But when Angela interrupts the dance at the very end, when they've done their pose, I think it keeps it on the same level, and it's like, oh my god, I can't wait for season 6, because we're like, who is this woman? Why is she telling them that that's not like a good enough dance? Why is she in Studio A? And it's just like, after that amazing dance, all she can say is whatever she says. She's not even happy with it. It's like, it was just really, really good. And I think it is the best opening dance of all seasons of The Next Step, in my opinion, of course. Because remember, all videos are just my opinion. So that was me ranking the opening dances of each season of The Next Step. I hope you really enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below or a comment, do both if you want, and make sure you subscribe, because this many people, I've recently reviewed my analytics, this many people aren't subscribed to my channel but regularly watch my videos, so maybe have a little check. If I keep popping up in your recommended, you might as well just click the subscribe button. It helps me out a lot, it helps you out because you'll get directly notified. Oh, and also make sure you press the bell, because YouTube isn't great at notifying people when people upload unless you click the bell. So hit the bell and the subscribe button wherever it is, and I'll see you next week for a new video, guys. Yeah, bye.